Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkar's Tavern blog, Discord server, Meme group, Facebook group, Twittering, Instagram, and yes, we have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Eric Tenkar. Additional content, another way to listen to these podcasts, but there are episodes not really episodes, but there are vidcasts that go up on the Eric Tenkar channel, done live a couple times a week. Most of that content will not be here, but some of it will be. But if you don't want to miss it all, or if you don't want to risk missing something, subscribe to youtube.com Eric Tenkar. So, what do we have today? Well, the news just keeps on giving. Today, it has come out that Margaret Weis, and Tracy Hickman, best known for the Dragonlance saga, right? Guess what? They are suing Wizards of the Coast. Why are they suing Wizards of the Coast? They are suing Wizards of the Coast for breach of contract, breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, and tortuous interference with contract. They are seeking a jury trial. Yes. So, what's going on with this? What happened? If you read I have a link to it on the blog site, tenkarstavern.com, for today's date, which is the 19th of October, 2020. I have a link to the, not to the contract, to the lawsuit. And basically what it comes down to is this. These are the highlights that I grabbed out. By early to mid-2020, particularly in the July 2020 timeframe, separate from anything having to do with Dragonlance, defendant, Wizards of the Coast, was engulfed in controversy. Specifically, defendant was subject to a drumbeat of negative publicity related to alleged racism and various forms of cultural insensitivity, offensiveness in connection with its Magic the Gathering trading cards, as well as with professional hiring and advancement practices within the company. In particular, beyond the issue of Mr. Kelman. Mr. Kelman is an editor assigned in June to cover Dragonlance. He's also the writer of a book that apparently garnered accusations the prior year of misogyny. Mr. Kelman, who remained controversial, the hiring of alleged white supremacist, alt-right, QAnon-affiliated. That's a fucking tongue twister and a half. Story artist Therese Nielsen was targeted by defendant's detractors, as well as over-sexualizing of the work by content creator Elizabeth Eden. I never heard of this issue. I'm going to have to check into it. Go figure. Further, certain allegations made against the defendant by defendant's former employee, Orion Black, self-described non-binary black person, became a media sensation. That story, I'm not sure if we covered it here on Tavern Chat, but I know I certainly read about it. As a result, the defendant issued a public apology, which in turn only fanned the flames of consumer, Twitter, internet blowback against the defendant all the more. On information and belief, the aforementioned controversies came to the attention of and were addressed at the highest levels of the defendant's parent company, Hasbro. Plaintiff creators ultimately discovered that at the same time defendant was under public siege, defendant was interacting and communicating directly with PRH. That's, I believe, Penguin Books, on editorial topics related to Book 1 and the trilogy with the intent of actively interfering with plaintiff creators' business relationships on or about August 13th, 2020, acting with the knowledge and consent and possibly the direction of Hasbro. Defendant held a telephone meeting with plaintiff creators and their representatives. Among those present at the meeting were Messrs. Kelman and Morrissey, defendant's in-house lawyers, Nick Mitchell and Ben Hellestein, and various PRH representatives, including executives and counsel. At that telephone meeting, without any forewarning, defendant's attorney, Mr. Mitchell, stated Defendant refused to perform under the license agreement, effectively terminating the agreement unilaterally. When challenged about the grounds for such termination, Mr. Mitchell responded with the nonsensical statement, "We are not moving forward toward breach, but we will not approve any further drafts." So I'm going to just throw out, I'm not a lawyer, but that to me sounds like technically we're not breaching the contract, but since we're not going to approve any more drafts, you might just as well stop writing, and you're not going to get paid. Defendant's statements and conduct were a stunningly bad faith effort to circumvent the termination provision of the agreement. By expressly withdrawing its future approvals, defendant effectively terminated plaintiff creators' ability to publish their work, destroyed plaintiff creators' ability to mitigate or modify their storyline or marketing materials to address any approval issues, and knowingly interfered with plaintiff creators' third-party contract with PRH, resulting in a loss of not only the guaranteed advance, but the royalties, incentive payments, and the exploitation of the sub-licensing rights of the licensed property that would easily eclipse the guaranteed advance, depending plaintiffs of millions of dollars over the license agreement. So, what does this mean? Well, Draglands is the property, and it looks like what they're saying, and as long as there's going to have to be those read between the lines, because they're saying that Wizards of the Coast was under a lot of bad publicity, and it sounds like, because they read an article, they changed into these new editors in June of 2020 from the old editors, and it appears that the new editors were brought in with the idea that they were going to make sure that this Dragonlance release wasn't going to potentially cause embarrassment for Wizards of the Coast. Now, I don't recall any issues with Wizards of the Coast publishing Dragonlance in the past, but that doesn't change the fact that the past is the past, the present is the present, and there is certainly a loud and vocal segment of society that find offense in most anything. Can I hazard a guess? Sure, I can assume that Kenders are offensive, right? Constant thieves, I'm sure they're going to be compared to some nationality. Gully dwarves, I'm sure, are going to be said they're on some nationality. Gold Moon and Rincewind, the barbarians, but they were apparently based on Native American traditions. I'm sure that could be an issue. Somebody mentioned to me that the possibility could be that they wanted to, again, by the way, I don't have that any inside information. This is conjecture. And I'm going to talk about conjecture and such after this. But somebody said, the authors, Weis and Hickman, are devout Mormons. And maybe they were trying to say either you need to introduce a new character that is trans, bi, or gay, or have a reveal that one of the established characters is trans, bi, or gay. Because maybe they're trying to cover bases for Wizards of the Coast. And if that's the case, and if Weis and Hickman were like, that's outside of what we agreed to, who knows? Again, it's conjecture. So that's what's going on with that. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Obviously, somebody's going to get paid well on this is lawyers. Now, since we're talking about this, I'm going to talk about something else. All right? And it's happened to me numerous times. When I say numerous times, more than twice, well, about a half dozen times. Half dozen times, I said, that would be numerous, right? Where somebody says something like, you better watch what you say about me because you might get sued for libel or you might be in violation of my copyright or I might have to file a DACA takedown. And here's the thing. This, by the way, I just went over a legitimate lawsuit, right? When individuals make frivolous claims, now one of the things that Frank Metzner told me, I believe at my first Gary Con, pulled me aside and said that he would read some of my posts, especially about Ken Whitman, to his wife, and his wife would get nervous that I would be stepping over the line where I might face potentially legal liabilities. And Frank was like, "Don't worry, Eric knows where that line is," and I do know where that line is. So if I'm talking about something that's obviously my opinion, it is my opinion. If I say that Sven Shitman, right? Sven Shitman, hypothetically, is allegedly a grifter and a thief. Well, I'm saying allegedly. Doesn't mean that Sven Shitman is a grifter and a thief. If I say Sven Shitman took money out of my pocket, and if I'm talking about personal experience, okay. If I say Ken Shitman is a thief, well, how do you know that? Well, I heard it on the internet. Well, do you have proof? Well, there's enough stories out there that it's proof. All these stories have one root, right? Well, you get yourself into dangerous territory at that point. If I talk about something like, I don't know, something that you can easily research, like trademarks and how trademarks are registered. By the way, that was a great deal that the Frugal GM put together, the post yesterday. I talked about it yesterday on the podcast. It was a great drilling down as to the whole trademark process and what is covered when you register your trademark. If you hear me say something about, I don't know, your business, and you disagree with what I'm saying about it, does not make it liable. It does not make me somebody that you can sue because you don't like what I'm saying. Okay? Especially when I can back stuff up with facts. If I'm saying, perchance, that filing for a trademark does not actually grant you that trademark, and actually successfully filing for a trademark that is in dispute does not necessarily mean that you have rights for it. That's when lawyers get involved. When it comes to certain disputes, the only people that get wealthy are the lawyers for either side. That being said, when you say things that people don't like, that could personally affect their business, okay? And again, I'm not talking about I heard it on the internet and therefore it must be true, because that is not going to hold up in court. It's either this is the facts and I'm laying out the facts, and all right, now we're going to take those facts and I'm going to say here are some possibilities. Those are also fine. All right? But just because somebody says something that you don't like doesn't mean you can make a legal threat. Now, here's the other thing, that just so you all know, this is an actual lawsuit. Wizards of the Coast was served. People like doing, and I'm sure a few of you out there have been in a situation, implied threats. Like I said, you might be, if you continue with, you should think about what you say because you may put yourself in a situation. You know what? Yeah, you're right. I may. But you are making threats. They're implied. So when I say, yes, and by the way, I've named people out, right, that have threatened me with legal action. It's like, I didn't threaten you. I go, it's what you wrote. Oh, well, no, but I was just saying what the possibilities are. An implied threat is still a threat. Okay? Know what your rights are, both as the person that's going to be making the implied threat and as the person that could possibly be receiving an implied threat. Like I said, I've had a number of individuals make threats outright or implied. Is what it is. Folks, I'm not going to change how I cover the industry. I'm not going to change how I present my posts, how I present my podcast. If I do fuck up, and I most assuredly will, and I get called on it, I will apologize. And if I don't get called on it and I realize I fucked up, I will correct and apologize. But if I question the legality of a claim, I'm sorry. That's not slander. That's not libel. I can question it, especially based upon the evidence that I am presenting. That's why we present evidence. And if I'm going to conjecture, and I label it as this is conjecture, this is me shooting shit and hate to say it, talking out of my ass. Well, I'm not claiming that it is true. I am saying, hey, based upon the facts that I was presented with, I think that this is a possibility. I'm allowed to do that. People are allowed to do that. Just because you don't agree with the assessment of others doesn't make it libel, doesn't make it fraud, doesn't make it something that you can commence legal action. Or you can try. Your lawyer is going to laugh at you because if they take something like that and they take it to court, it's going to get thrown out for wasting the court's time. And lawyers don't like that because that gets them in trouble with judges. So think before you threaten. This case is certainly tight enough that I'm going to talk out of my ass. I'm going to guess that Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro thought that these two people, Weis and Hickman, who they've had legal issues with before and had slighted before, back when Margaret Weis LLC had the license to Dragonlance, and then it was removed from them. They felt prematurely, and then she's like, well, I have a 10-book series that I'm supposed to write, but that's at my will, and I will not write it. I suspect, again, lawyers will be involved, and this is going to be settled before it goes to jury, because having served on civil juries and criminal juries, nobody wants to put it in the hands of a civil jury, because we award awards that you can't control. And both sides like to have a bit more of an idea of what's going to land. They don't want, neither side wants anything too extreme, right? If you're the plaintiff, you don't want to get, I won and I got $1. And if you're the defendant, you don't want to go, I lost and it's 30 million when I could have settled for 10, right? So just things to think about. Folks, we're still in the midst of a world of pandemicking. So use your common sense. Take actions, precautions that will keep yourself, your loved ones, your family, your friends healthy and safe. If you need guidance, don't look at me. Don't look at the jackass on TV. I don't care if it says doctor. Seek professional medical advice. All right? Somebody you trust. Be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice. And God willing, I will talk with you all tomorrow. Wednesday, we're going to be bringing Talking Crit back to this podcast. Should be myself, Bad Mike, and a special guest. So, we'll talk to you then. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow, actually. Yeah, that's the ticket. All right. Laters.